We're running out of time. We're down to one plant. But, if you guys can keep her going and the ground holds up and the weather.
Chris Doumitt is walking away, and this time he means it. After years of hard work on Parker Schnabel's crew, he's finally had enough. Fans of Gold Rush know Chris has always been the steady force behind the operation, making sure not a single speck of gold goes to waste. But how much pressure can one man take before he breaks? Tune in as we uncover the real reason after Chris's departure that will make you hate Schnabel forever. When the gold rush becomes too much. For years, Chris has been the quiet force behind the team's success. While others come and go, he has remained, putting in long hours and doing the kind of back-breaking work that few would last a week doing. But with 3 plants running non-stop, the pressure is unbearable. Parker is gunning for 10,000 ounces of gold this season, and that means no breaks, no room for error, and no mercy for the people actually making it happen. For one of the most experienced crew members, the constant strain is more than just exhausting, it's destroying him. Before we dive into this, it's clear that the pressure on Chris isn't just overwhelming, it's far more brutal than anyone realized, and what happens next will leave everyone stunned. It's not like he hasn't seen tough times before. He started out as a carpenter, never planning to be a gold miner, and somehow found himself as one of the most skilled workers in the business. He didn't just adapt, he thrived. His meticulous work in the gold room turned Parker's operation into one of the most efficient in the game. But there's only so much one man can take. Even the toughest have their limits, and now one of Parker's most trusted team members has finally hit his. The worst part, Parker isn't exactly making it easy for him. Every single crew member is stretched to the breaking point, and when he finally spoke up, what did he get? A half-hearted attempt to fix things. He didn't ask for much, just some help, someone to take some of the crushing workload off his shoulders, but every suggestion he made was dismissed. The few people who could step in were too busy or needed elsewhere. It wasn't until he practically threatened to walk away that Parker finally caved and reassigned Tatiana Costa to help. A temporary fix to a much bigger problem. And let's be honest, that's all it is, a delay. This isn't just about one season being rough. The problem runs deeper. Parker's obsession with breaking records has turned his mining crew into nothing more than machines. The focus is on the gold, not the people digging it up. The work keeps piling on, and the reality is clear. It's only a matter of time before more crew members reach their breaking points. He is smart enough to see what's coming. He's been around long enough to know when a situation has turned toxic. Sure, Parker can celebrate hitting massive gold totals, but at what cost? If the people behind those numbers are burned out, miserable, and ready to walk, is it really worth it? One of the most dedicated, hardworking members of the crew has finally had enough, and that should set off alarms. For the fans, it's a tough pill to swallow. He has been around for years, and his departure signals something bigger than just one man leaving. It's a sign that Parker's way of doing things might not be sustainable. Can a team really keep running like this year after year? Or is this the beginning of the end? His path on Gold Rush has been one for the books. He came in as an outsider, learned everything on the job, and became a legend in his own right. His precision, his dedication, and his work ethic made him an irreplaceable part of the crew. But nothing lasts forever. When the pressure becomes unbearable, even the best have to walk away. For more than 10 years, Chris Dozer has been the backbone of Parker Schnabel's gold mining empire. But now things are looking rough. Every season of Gold Rush brings a new battle, but this time the stakes are higher than ever. Will he make it through the toughest grind of his life, or is Parker's operation about to lose one of its most important crew members? Gold mining is never easy, but this season is pushing limits like never before. Parker is known for demanding more gold, more work, and more results. He has been right there in the middle of it all, keeping the operation running, but there's only so much one man can take before something breaks. When you're pulling gold out of the dirt in brutal conditions, exhaustion isn't just a word, it's a reality that could make or break even the toughest miner. He didn't start out as a gold miner. Once he was just a skilled carpenter with no plans of spending his life covered in mud and gold dust. That all changed when he got a job building a cabin for Greg Reber's family, a connection to the famous Todd Hoffman crew. One thing led to another, and before he knew it, he was shoveling dirt instead of sawing wood. Turns out he was built for the gold fields. Hard work, long hours, back-breaking labor, no problem. He picked it up fast and didn't complain, something Parker would later come to value more than anything. Chris was feeling the weight of it all, and he knew something had to change. But leaving one of the biggest gold mining teams wasn't a simple decision. The Gold Room's unsung hero. After spending 3 years working under Todd Hoffman, Chris made a career-changing move. Season 4 saw him switch teams and join a young miner with big dreams and an even bigger drive to hit gold records. It was a gamble, but it paid off. Chris proved himself quickly, becoming one of the most trusted team members. If something needed to get done, Chris was the guy to do it. One of his biggest responsibilities? Running the Gold Room. That's where the real magic happens. After all the digging, hauling, and washing, the final step is turning dirt into profit. Chris doesn't just sift through pay dirt, he perfects the process. Losing even a tiny amount of gold can mean thousands of dollars slipping away. His steady hands and sharp eyes make sure the gold count stays high, often recovering nearly all the gold processed. In this game, mistakes cost big, and Chris makes sure they don't happen. But gold mining isn't just about technical skills, it's also about survival. The work is brutal, the hours are long, and the conditions are unforgiving. Tempers run hot, stress piles up, and sometimes it feels like the machines are fighting against them. That's where Chris shines. He isn't just a worker, he's the glue that keeps the crew together. When frustration boils over, Chris steps in to smooth things out. If the team is exhausted, he's cracking jokes, keeping the mood light when things feel impossible. He's the bridge between management and the miners, making sure they don't lose their minds under the pressure. The boss might run the operation, but even he knows he needs people like Chris to keep things moving. Over the years, Chris has become the right-hand man, offering advice on everything from gold cleanups to equipment breakdowns. When things go wrong, and they always do in mining, Chris is the guy who figures it out. That was never clearer than in Season 15 when a huge risk was taken. 3 massive wash plants, Big Red, Roxanne, and Bob's plant, running all at once with a goal of pulling 10,000 ounces of gold. It was a bold move, but it put an insane amount of pressure on Chris. The workload was crushing. The Gold Room became a non-stop battlefield, with Chris working at his absolute limit to keep up. It almost broke him. Even the boss had to admit it, Chris was drowning in work. For the first time, there were serious talks about whether Chris could even continue. He'd spent years grinding away, pushing through exhaustion, but this was different. This wasn't just another hard season, this was unsustainable. The stress, the hours, the constant demand for perfection, it all came to a head. Extra hands had to be brought in just to keep Chris from burning out completely. That moment showed just how much he mattered. Without him, the entire operation was at risk of falling apart. Chris has become more than just a miner. He's a legend on Gold Rush. His path from carpenter to gold expert is a testament to sheer determination and grit. Fans love him because he's real. He doesn't put on a show, doesn't play up drama for the cameras. He just works, and he does it better than almost anyone. While the boss is constantly chasing bigger goals and higher gold counts, Chris is the reason those goals are even possible. Without him, the operation wouldn't just slow down, it would collapse. But how much longer can he keep this up? There's only so much a person can take, even someone as tough as Chris Dozer. Mining isn't a job, it's a lifestyle that eats people alive. The exhaustion never ends, the pressure never eases, and at some point, even the strongest men break. Every season gets harder. Every year, expectations grow. And Chris? He's at the center of it all, carrying the weight of an entire gold operation on his back. So what happens if Chris finally says enough is enough? Losing Chris wouldn't just be another crew change, it would be a disaster. The Gold Room would never run the same. The cleanup process wouldn't be as precise. The crew would lose one of their strongest leaders. And the boss? He'd be left scrambling to fill a gap that no one else can truly replace. There are plenty of miners, but there's only one Chris Dozer. For years, he's been holding everything together, but cracks are starting to show. The last few seasons have pushed him harder than ever before. The question isn't whether Chris can keep going, it's whether he should. He's already proven himself 100 times over. At what point does a man decide it's time to walk away before the job breaks him completely? Chris became a well-known miner, but he didn't start out that way. Before digging for gold, his skills took him in a completely different direction. From carpenter to gold miner. Chris Doumitt's life didn't start with gold mining, and it sure didn't seem like it was headed that way either. Born in the summer of 1951 in Portland, Oregon, he grew up surrounded by hard work on his family farm. Waking up before the sun, getting his hands dirty, and dealing with stubborn machinery wasn't just a chore, it was his training ground. That early experience taught him how to fix things, solve problems, and most importantly, keep going no matter what. Little did he know those skills would push him into a life he never planned. Instead of following a straight path, he carved out his own. He spent over 25 years working as a carpenter, building things from the ground up and learning the kind of patience only a hammer and nails can teach. But he wasn't just good with wood, he had another passion: firearms. Not content with just collecting, he became an expert, even training the local police department in gun safety. Teaching cops how to shoot? That's not exactly your everyday side gig, but it showed just how much he knew his stuff. Then, out of nowhere, a new opportunity knocked, and true to form, he didn't hesitate to answer. Fast forward to 2010, and he is out on a job. Just another gig, nothing special. Todd Hoffman needed a cabin built for his mining crew, and he was the guy for the job. Simple enough, right? Except what was supposed to be a short 10-day project turned into something much bigger. The more time he spent around the miners, the more he got sucked into the world of gold digging. What started as curiosity quickly turned into hands-on experience, and before he knew it, 10 days stretched into 5 months. Just like that, the carpenter became a miner. It didn't take long for him to find his groove in the gold business. He stuck around for 3 full seasons with the Hoffman crew, proving he wasn't just a guy with a toolbox. But then came a shift. By the time season 4 rolled around, he made a big move, joining Parker Schnabel's team. Parker, known for running a tight ship, saw something in him, and it paid off. He wasn't just another worker, he was a problem solver, the kind of guy you could count on when things got tough. Whether it was fixing broken equipment or jumping into the heavy lifting, he did whatever needed to be done. That kind of work ethic doesn't go unnoticed, and it cemented his place in the mining world. But his story isn't just about work, it's about bouncing back when life hits hard. In 2016, he faced a huge headache when his truck got stolen, along with important personal documents. Losing a vehicle is bad enough, but when it comes with a pile of other problems, that's a real nightmare. Still, he did what he always does, kept his head down, focused on the work, and moved forward. He didn't have time to dwell on setbacks. There was gold to dig and a crew depending on him. Mining wasn't the only thing on his mind, though. He had another idea brewing, one that had nothing to do with gold. With a longtime love for cigars, he decided to turn that passion into a business. Enter Doumit Cigar Company. This wasn't just some side hustle, it was him putting his name on something he truly enjoyed. Selling cigars gave him a way to connect with people outside of mining, proving that he could succeed in more than one industry. While most people stick to what they know, he never let himself be boxed in. At the heart of everything, though, was family. He and his wife Sharon had been together for over 4 decades, longer than most people keep a job, let alone a marriage, but their road wasn't easy. In 2016, Sharon was diagnosed with cancer, a battle that would shake any family. He stood by her side through it all, and in July 2017, she finished her treatment. Beating cancer wasn't just a victory for Sharon, it was a testament to the strength of their bond. While mining might have tested his resilience, nothing compared to what he and Sharon endured together. When he wasn't digging for gold or running a cigar business, he found joy in simpler things. He loved golf, fishing, and making his own wine, hobbies that let him unwind after long days of hard work. Unlike many who burn out chasing success, he found a way to balance it all. Maybe that's why he's managed to stay in the game for so long. Some people let life push them around, but him? He's the kind who pushes back. Parker Schnabel wasn't just any miner, he grew up in the middle of it, shaped by hard work and ready to do whatever it took to succeed. The gold miner who never looked back. Parker Schnabel didn't have a normal childhood. Born in Haines, Alaska on July 22, 1994, he grew up surrounded by the relentless grind of gold mining. His family wasn't just in the business, they were the business. His grandfather, John Schnabel, ran the Big Nugget mine, and from an absurdly young age, he was right in the thick of it. While most kids were playing with toy trucks, he was learning to operate the real ones, getting covered in dust and sweat before he even had his first real job. By the time he was 5, he was already spending his summers knee-deep in the mining world. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a full-scale, all-consuming obsession. Forget training wheels and coloring books, he was handling heavy machinery that most adults wouldn't dare touch. The Big Nugget mine was more than just family property, it was his playground and classroom rolled into one. His grandfather made sure he understood every inch of the business, and he soaked up knowledge like a sponge. High school was a bit of a balancing act. He went to Haynes High School and somehow managed to juggle mining with schoolwork and basketball. He wasn't just any player, he was on the varsity team, showing that same drive and grit on the court as he did in the mine. But no matter how many games he played or tests he aced, his mind was always on gold. School was a side mission, mining was the main quest. While others were stressing about exams, he was already thinking about how to dig deeper and get richer. Then came the big choice: college or mining. Most people his age were sending out applications worrying about dorm rooms and degrees. Not him. He took the money that was supposed to fund his education and pumped it straight into his mining operation. That's right, he bet it all on himself, doubling down on the family business when most teenagers were still figuring out what to do with their lives. It was a bold move, but that's who he was. He wasn't about to waste time sitting in a classroom when there was gold to be dug up. By 16, he was already running the show at Big Nugget Mine. Imagine being a teenager bossing around grown men, some of whom had been mining longer than he had been alive. That was his reality. He didn't just inherit a business, he earned it, proving he had the skills and the guts to keep the mine running. While other teens were flipping burgers, he was pulling gold straight from the ground. The pressure was real, but he never backed down. Then came the cameras. In 2010, the Discovery Channel put him front and center in Gold Rush. The show wasn't just about mining, it was about the brutal, cutthroat world of chasing gold in Alaska and the Yukon. He wasn't just another guy looking for a quick payday, he was the kid prodigy shaking up the industry. The show turned him into a household name, but it didn't change his approach. He was still the same relentless, no-nonsense miner he had always been, just with a bigger audience watching. The thing about him, he doesn't just play the game, he rewrites the rules. While others were content with what they had, he kept pushing forward, reinvesting every ounce of his earnings back into the business. Bigger machines, better locations, riskier digs, he never played it safe. It wasn't just about getting gold, it was about getting more than anyone thought possible. His hunger for success kept him on the move, constantly looking for the next big score. But it wasn't just about Alaska anymore. He wanted more, much more. He didn't just sit back and count his gold, he went out chasing new challenges. That's where Gold Rush Parker's Trail came in. Instead of sticking to the usual spots, he went on wild mining expeditions in some of the toughest places on Earth. Every new trip meant more danger, more adventure, and more gold. He was proving that he wasn't just some lucky kid who struck it big, he was a serious force in the industry. For all his success, Parker has never lost sight of where he came from. His grandfather's influence is still at the heart of everything he does. Every decision he makes, every risk he takes, it all traces back to the lessons he learned at Big Nugget Mine. That work ethic, that relentless drive, that refusal to settle, it's what separates him from the rest. He doesn't just want to mine gold, he wants to dominate the industry. Is Parker Schnabel pushing his crew too hard, or is this just the price of chasing more gold?
The gold hunt that nearly broke them. From the start, Parker was gunning for something insane. 10,000 ounces of gold. A number so high it felt impossible. But Parker doesn't do small goals. To make it happen, he cranked up the pressure, running Big Red, Rock Sand, and Bob's plant all at the same time. On paper, it sounded like genius. More plants mean more gold, right? Well, not exactly, because behind the scenes, the crew was getting pushed past their breaking point, and no one felt it more than Chris Doumitt. Before we dive into this, one thing is certain. What happened behind the scenes was far more intense than anyone realized, and this won't be the only thing that will leave you stunned. He has always been the guy in the background, making sure the gold keeps flowing. But this season, the work went from hard to nearly impossible. Cleaning out the sluice boxes, making sure not a single speck of gold gets lost, and doing it for 3 wash plants nonstop? That's not just hard, it's backbreaking. The man isn't getting any younger, and this kind of nonstop grind was taking its toll.
I hate it when we're having to do things that we don't want to do in a way that we don't want to do them because we're in a rush to get ounces out of the ground. I hate that.
He gave it his all, but at some point, even the toughest guys have to admit when enough is enough. If you've followed Gold Rush for a while, you know he isn't the type to complain. But this season, he didn't have a choice. It was either speak up or break down, and no amount of experience could change the fact that he was drowning in work. Something had to change. The crew was stretched thin, and Parker wasn't about to pull anyone off a machine to help in the gold room. That left him stuck between a rock and a hard place. Enter Tatiana Costa, one of the top operators on the team, but not exactly someone you'd expect to see handling the gold. He threw out her name as a possible backup, and Parker had to make a tough call. Mitch and Tyson weren't going to be thrilled about losing her, but it was either that or watch him walk away for good. In the end, Parker agreed. Tatiana was getting trained up, and at last, there was some extra help. But was it too little? Too late? Even with extra hands in the gold room, the pressure wasn't going away. Parker's hunger for gold wasn't slowing down, and as the season pushed forward, the cracks were starting to show.
70?
Yeah.
289.05.
There we go.
Yeah.
Woo!
Chest bump.
No.
This veteran miner had been with Parker's crew since season 4, and over the years he'd become one of the most valuable team members. But every man has his limits, and this season was testing his in ways no one expected. His path to Gold Rush wasn't exactly planned. He started as a carpenter, building cabins for Todd Hoffman's crew. But one thing led to another, and before he knew it, he was knee-deep in gold mining. Turns out he was good at it, really good. When he switched over to Parker's team, everything changed. His skills in the gold room helped Parker hit record-breaking gold totals year after year. But even the best can only take so much. And now, with the workload pushing him past his limit, the question isn't whether he can keep up. It's whether he even wants to. For fans, the idea of Gold Rush without this hard-working veteran is hard to picture. He's been there through the ups and downs, keeping things running even when chaos took over. But this season feels different. The pressure, the exhaustion, the sheer amount of work, it's all piling up. And for the first time, it looks like he might be done for good. Gold mining is a tough business. It takes grit, patience, and a whole lot of endurance. But at some point, you have to ask, is it worth it? Chris has spent years making sure the operation runs smoothly, but if the cost is his health and well-being, is it time to walk away? As the season rolls on, that's the question hanging over everything. And if he does leave, what does that mean for the rest of the crew? Chris had been through tough seasons before, but this one was pushing him harder than ever. The gold room was falling apart. A wild goal has been set: dig up 10,000 ounces of gold. It's a massive challenge, and the pressure is hitting everyone hard. Chris, a veteran of this back-breaking grind, might finally have had enough. If he walks away, the team will lose a key player, someone who keeps the whole operation from falling apart. But then again, gold has a way of pulling people back, and Chris isn't one to back down easily. Chris has been part of the crew for over a decade, and his impact goes way beyond just digging up dirt. He's the guy making sure every speck of gold is accounted for, the one who smooths things over when demands push the team to the edge. He wasn't even a miner when he started, just a carpenter who got pulled into this world by chance. But once he was in, he adapted fast, proving himself as one of the hardest workers out there. Now he's one of the few constants in this chaotic gold-chasing empire. One of Chris's most important jobs is in the gold room, where raw dirt turns into pure profit. It's not a simple task. One mistake, and real money disappears. Chris has mastered the process, making sure nothing is wasted. His work ensures that their gold recovery numbers wouldn't be nearly as high without him. The stakes are massive, and having the right guy in charge of cleanups is non-negotiable. In a game where every ounce matters, Chris is the one making sure the team gets the most out of every run. But Chris isn't just about numbers and gold pans. He's the glue holding the crew together.
Hey, Mitch, how's it going, man?
Oh, not too bad.
Good to see you, buddy.
You too.
Hey, T-Bird, how you doing, man?
Not much, you?
Clean and gold.
Yeah?
Non-stop.
Mining is exhausting. Long hours, brutal weather, and constant equipment failures make every day a battle. Tensions rise, tempers flare, and high expectations don't make it easier. Chris, with his laid-back attitude and sharp sense of humor, keeps things from boiling over. He's the guy everyone turns to when the pressure gets too much, the one who helps keep the team from completely falling apart. He's relied on for more than just morale. He's a key decision maker, someone trusted to weigh in when things get tough. Whether it's figuring out the best way to process gold, fixing busted equipment, or managing crew drama, Chris is the voice of reason. Over the years, he's proven that he's not just another worker. He's an essential part of why this operation stays afloat. The real test came when an extreme challenge was pushed forward. Running 3 wash plants at once was a ridiculous goal, aiming for an almost impossible 10,000 ounces in one season. It was chaos, and Chris took the hardest hit. He was the one responsible for making sure all the sluice boxes were cleared, all the gold was properly cleaned, and nothing got lost in the madness. It pushed him past his limit, and for the first time, quitting became a real option.
He's starting to see the 10,000 ounce goal kind of dwindling away.
We probably could do 10.
All right.
But then, like, our costs would go up by, 50%.
Extra hands had to be brought in just to keep things from falling apart. It was clear, without Chris, this goal was a pipe dream. Chris's legacy on Gold Rush is impossible to ignore. He went from being an outsider with zero mining experience to one of the most trusted names in the business. His work ethic, dedication, and ability to keep the crew together have made him a fan favorite. If one man is the face of the operation, Chris is the backbone, the one making sure everything actually works. Without him, things would look very different, and everyone knows it. But the big question still looms. Is Chris finally ready to call it quits? After years of non-stop work, insane pressure, and the never-ending drive to break records, even the toughest guys have their limits. If he walks, the team will be left scrambling to fill the gap. If he stays, he's in for another season of exhaustion and stress. Either way, things are about to change. Is Gold Rush about to lose one of its biggest legends? Or will Chris stick around for one last shot at striking it big? One thing's for sure, gold mining has never been this intense. Parker never took the easy road, but his story didn't start with success. It began with a kid who refused to give up, no matter what anyone said. The teen who took over gold mining. Parker Schnabel didn't just stumble into gold mining, he was practically born into it. Born in late July in the mid-90s, in the small town of Haines, Alaska, he grew up surrounded by dirt, heavy machinery, and the never-ending hunt for gold. His grandfather, John Schnabel, ran the Big Nugget mine, and while other kids were playing with toy trucks, he was watching the real thing in action. By the time he was barely old enough to tie his own shoes, he was already learning how to operate equipment that most adults would struggle with. Fast forward a few years and he was juggling school and mining like it was nothing. High school saw him shooting hoops on the basketball team, but let's be real. His heart was always with the mine. College? Sure, it was an option. He even thought about studying geology or mining, but in the end, books and classrooms didn't stand a chance. Instead of wasting years in lectures, he put his savings where his ambition was, into his own mining operation. That decision? Life-changing. By the time he was just 16, he took over running the Big Nugget mine. Imagine that, a teenager telling grown men twice his age how to do their jobs. But he wasn't just bossing people around, he knew what he was doing. Mining isn't just digging holes and hoping for gold. It's a grind, a calculated risk, a battle against nature itself. He proved he had the guts, the brains, and the work ethic to pull it off. Then came the big break, reality TV. In the early 2010s, Discovery Channel rolled out Gold Rush, a show about families willing to risk it all for a shot at striking it rich. He and his family were right in the mix, and soon enough, viewers were hooked on watching this teenage miner defy expectations.
Yeah, Jordan's starting to catch up. He's going a little bit faster now. Because right as I leave, he'll be right behind me with a full box.
But just being part of the show wasn't enough. He had bigger plans. In his late teens, he made a move that left jaws on the floor. He walked away from his family mine, set his sights on the Yukon, and went all in on his own operation. It was a wild gamble, but playing it safe was never his style. He leased land, bought equipment, and got to work. And guess what? It paid off. In his first season running solo, he pulled over 1,000 ounces of gold from the ground. That's not luck. That's pure determination. With each season, his operation only got bigger and bolder. His numbers grew, and he proved that he wasn't just some kid riding his grandfather's legacy. He was the real deal. His story wasn't just about mining. It was about proving that age doesn't matter when you have the skills and the drive to succeed. He didn't just survive in the gold game, he dominated it. The show didn't stop with Gold Rush. His success spun off into Gold Rush Parker's Trail, where he took mining to the next level. No longer just digging in one place, he traveled the world, following historic gold mining routes and pushing himself into uncharted territory. From Canada's brutal Klondike Trail to the dense jungles of Papua New Guinea, he showed that he wasn't afraid of challenges. He chased them. But life wasn't all gold and glory. He faced his share of struggles, especially when it came to his personal life. He had a relationship with an Australian veterinary nurse, Ashley Yulee, who even appeared on the show for a while. But between the relentless grind of mining and the pressures of fame, the relationship didn't last. He admitted he wasn't exactly the best at balancing work and relationships.
So if we run a yard, we need to get 155 milligrams.
40 buckets?
40 buckets.
Mining always came first. And that's the thing about him. He's not just some TV personality trying to cash in on his 15 minutes of fame. The guy eats, sleeps, and breathes gold mining. Even as he hits his 30s, he's still as relentless as ever, chasing bigger paydays and pushing the limits of what's possible in the industry. Fame hasn't softened him. If anything, it's only made him more determined. But here's the real question. How long can he keep this up? Mining isn't just backbreaking work. It's unpredictable, risky, and full of setbacks. He has made millions, but he's also faced massive losses. Will he eventually trade the mining life for something a little more stable? Will he ever step away from the cameras and just focus on the gold? Or is he too deep into this world to ever walk away? For now, his name is still one of the biggest in modern gold mining. Whether it's striking it rich or struggling through brutal seasons, one thing's for sure, he's not done yet. But what happens when the gold stops flowing? That's the real story waiting to be told. Gold mining is tough, and one bad choice can ruin everything. But those who learn to change and keep going always find a way to win. The numbers that changed Gold Rush. Gold mining isn't just about digging up some shiny rocks and getting rich overnight. Gold Rush has proven that time and time again. While the show makes it seem like an adventure, the reality is far more brutal. Miners risk everything, money, time, and sanity for a shot at a few nuggets. Some strike it big, others crash and burn, and a few just barely hang on by the skin of their teeth. Take Season 3, for example. Todd Hoffman's crew finally had a decent year after struggling before, pulling out over 800 ounces of gold, which put more than $1 million in their pockets. Not bad, right? But Parker Schnabel, the young hotshot, was already proving he was the one to watch. While Hoffman was celebrating, one miner was grinding, mining nearly 200 ounces. Meanwhile, Dakota Fred Hurt pulled out over 160 ounces, but it was clear he wasn't keeping up with the younger competition. Then came Season 4, and there was no messing around. Leasing land at Scribner Creek, the work began, leading to over 800 ounces in one season. If that wasn't enough, he and Rick Ness went all in and pushed their total to over 1,000 ounces, shattering Hoffman's records and making him look like an amateur. At this point, it was clear. There was a new leader in the gold rush, and Hoffman was just trying to keep up. Season 5 rolled around, and the numbers made everyone else look silly. More than 2,500 ounces of gold were pulled in, raking in close to $3 million. The Hoffmans, still struggling to stay relevant, managed to mine over 1,300 ounces, making over $1.5 million. Not terrible, but Compared to the top miner, it was like watching a kid trying to outrun a race car. Things really heated up in Season 6. Tony Beats, the grizzled old-school miner, got in on the action with his family, hauling out over 700 ounces using a dredge that was older than some of the crew members. But there was no slowing down. Over 3,300 ounces were mined, worth nearly $3.5 million. The Hoffmans finally had a decent year, pulling in just over 3,000 ounces. But they still trailed far behind.
There's no gold in it. We're wasting a lot of time.
But it's just very different ground than we've been mining.
By Season 7, the numbers were simply in another league. The team pulled in more than 4,300 ounces, worth over $5 million. Meanwhile, Tony Beats and his crew, working their dredge system, managed just over 2,000 ounces. The gap was growing, and one miner was setting the pace. Season 8 was yet another dominant year. The team mined over 6,200 ounces, worth a whopping $7.5 million. Tony Beats stayed consistent with over 3,600 ounces, bringing in over $4 million. The reign was undeniable, and it was clear who was outthinking and outworking everyone else. Then came Season 9, where a goal of 7,000 ounces at Scribner Creek was set. Not only was that goal reached, it was blown past with over 7,400 ounces mined, worth close to $9 million. Rick Ness, trying to prove himself after stepping out of the shadow, just barely scraped past 1,000 ounces. Meanwhile, Tony Beats fell short of his 6,000-ounce goal, mining just under 4,400 ounces. Another win for the leader, another frustrating season for the rest. Season 10 showed just how smart the top miner had become. Even though the total fell 200 ounces short of the previous season, rising gold prices meant more money in the end. By the close of the season, over $10 million in gold had been mined. Meanwhile, Rick Ness struggled after relocating to Duncan Creek, barely breaking even. Tony Beats had to move his operation to Paradise Hill, but still managed over 2,200 ounces. The competition was still there, but one person was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. Fast forward to Season 14, and a goal of 5,000 ounces was set. Did that goal get met? Of course not. It was shattered. By the end, over 7,300 ounces were mined, worth nearly $15 million. Meanwhile, Tony Beats, despite aiming for 6,000 ounces, faced setbacks and ended up with just over 3,000 ounces. Rick Ness, after a year off, managed over 1,100 ounces, making over $2 million. The numbers didn't lie. One miner was simply in a league of his own.
Yeah, it's been a challenge finding people that can get into the Klondike, right? Because it's just like quite a few borders to get through.
And that's the thing about Gold Rush. It's not just about digging up dirt and hoping for gold. It's about strategy, determination, and knowing when to take risks. Some figured that out early, while guys like Hoffman struggled to adapt. Some seasons were brutal, with breakdowns, bad weather, and even worse luck. But the ones who knew what they were doing always found a way to come out on top. The success wasn't an accident. It came from constantly looking for new ways to mine more gold, paying less in royalties, and investing in the right equipment. The game changed by taking lessons from other mining operations, even traveling to places like Australia to learn different techniques. That's why winning kept happening season after season, because there was never a fear of change. Sure, Gold Rush makes gold mining look dramatic, but it also shows just how ruthless the industry can be. One bad season can ruin you, one wrong decision can set you back years, and one big find can change everything. Parker Schnabel figured out the winning formula, and as long as he keeps making smart moves, the gold will keep piling up. With every new season, viewers tune in, waiting to see if new records will be broken, if Tony Beats will finally catch up, or if someone new will rise to the top. The gold is still out there, but only the smartest and toughest will ever get their hands on it. Did Chris Doumitt leave Gold Rush because of the intense pressure? Or is there a bigger story behind his shocking exit? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.